Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net-carb Hero Bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first Hero Bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.
At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.
Hi listeners, this is Gaz. In this episode of BB on Blast, we talk a bit about mental health. Tully discusses her experiences of living with anxiety, as do I. Now before we start, I just wanted to say we're obviously not medical professionals, so if you are struggling, please reach out for support from your doctor or a local talking therapy service, because there is help available out there and the way you're feeling isn't going to last forever. Enjoy the podcast. Hello.
And welcome
to a BB on Blast special.
Oh, an exclusive interview. Is it exclusive if other people have interviewed that person recently?
I think so, because I don't think you're going to get content like this anywhere else.
And it's exclusive to BB on Blast. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we haven't had an exclusive for a long time, since Cameron won Big Brother UK.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, another example of a person who we've been rude about, who then comes on our podcast and is perfectly lovely. Because we didn't know she was listening at the start, so God knows what we said. You love Tully, so
that would always neutralize anything you had to say.
Yeah.
But no, Tully's listened, and you'll see what she thinks, or you'll hear what she thinks.
I think after this series in particular, my respect for her has definitely grown massively. Yeah. She just is so open and honest in this interview, and just a cool person, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that the breadth of topics we discussed, I don't know if any other podcast will go into that. It might all be about, like, Johnson's game or whatever. We're less concerned about that. So yeah, I think this is unique content, and it's long. It's just in BB on Blast classic style.
What was I going to say? We recorded it pre-finale, so it's fresh-ish. But yeah, thanks to Tully for taking the time to speak to us.
Yeah, she was great.
And we will be doing our usual podcast as well.
For now, here's our chat with Tully.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of BB on Blast.
Woo!
I'm Gaz.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Tully.
Wow, and this is the Tully interview special. I say interview. We don't really want it to be a formal interview, Tully. I think you get how we roll. It's more of a chat. We'll try not to make it 2 hours long, okay?
And although we sent in questions, we're not really going to, I mean, we will probably touch on them, but we just want to have a chat with you. It's not
I honestly don't even look at those questions anymore. They're usually all the same. And from what I've found, people don't really stick to them anyway. Like you get talking, you get in a role, and you kind of just go with that rather than sticking to your list of questions. But I appreciated them nonetheless.
So Tully's drinking wine. We don't have wine.
It's the morning. It wouldn't really be acceptable to be drinking over here now, right?
Well,
I mean, I'm disappointed because the last 2 episodes you guys have been absolutely sloshed, and I was really enjoying as you guys got drunker and drunker and more loose lips, and things happen like parasols and like there's fires and there's umbrellas and there's boyfriends yelling in the background. I quite like that whole experience. It's not too early for mimosa. We can have mimosa or like a Bloody Mary, can't we?
Yes, I just didn't buy anything in though, so I haven't got the stuff. I mean, if right now I'd have to probably go for rum, and I think that's a bit far.
Tully,
it's 8 p.m. here on a Sunday, so I am allowed to have a wine.
Of course you are.
Tully, I was mortified when you said you were listening, because I thought, oh no, what the hell have I said? Because we are quite rude and we are quite indiscreet, and I'm very aware that these people are your friends. So just get the apology out the way up front.
Look, as I've said a few times now, I think after my first time round on the show, there is nothing that I could hear or read that would affect me. Like, I've seen and read it all. The worst, most horrific vitriol, death threats, jokes about my mother who died.
Wow.
I've seen and read it all. So I've got pretty thick skin. And you guys also, you say it in jest, you say it with love. You're not really being malicious. And lately with the episodes, the people that you're, not too happy with, I can get on board. So no apology necessary.
Interesting.
Go on, Gaz, what do you want to say?
I don't know, but that just leads me to ask, like, what is going on there? Like, how are the connections, like, since leaving? Obviously, we're not particularly, I would say, we're obviously OG biased, as you yourself probably are as an OG, and the finale looks like it's going to be mostly newbies. Doesn't please us too much. Like, how is it for you guys to host the house?
I mean, it's been a wild ride. There's literally a whole other Big Brother going on in the WhatsApp group chat. And it's always the case. And we had such a long lead time between filming, wrapping, and the show going to air. So for like a good 6-7 months, it was all sunshine and rainbows in that group chat. It was the bloody Brady Bunch. We were all just getting along and really excited to see each other and, hanging out and sending each other support and love. And then as soon as the show started to air, it was like, okay, now it's getting tense. We had a few people leave the chat, which is always to be expected. I think Josh was the first to tap out.
Is anyone surprised by that, though?
I never met the guy. He was out before I was in.
So of course.
I haven't met him yet. I haven't even met the guy. I heard a lot about him, but it was wild to watch how it actually all played out. But you know what? I've actually, in the last couple of days, especially speaking to some of the newbies, I'm actually now feeling really sad and disappointed at how it's all kind of playing out, mainly on social media. But I just feel like I was once a newbie, and I copped so much backlash and so much trolling, and the fact that these newbies are copping it so hard purely for the fact that there is just so much love for us. Like, it's not, they can do nothing right. Like, Taras, Alicia, Johnson are all playing an amazing game. They've all made huge moves. It doesn't matter. No one cares about the fact they've played a great game, because all they're thinking about is, you got rid of Tully, you got rid of Drew, you got rid of Tim. And it's been really tough for for the newbies. They haven't received the kind of love and support that we have. It's like they were never gonna, I feel bad for them because they're not having the experience that they should be having purely because they're up against OGs. And that really hurts my heart. Like, I spoke to Alicia and she's been copping it. And last thing in the world I would want people just, I don't know whether there's just people can't see past OGs versus newbies. And, if you come for Reggie, then you're dead to everybody kind of thing. Fair. And God forbid you come for Reggie ever. The untouchables.
They've not done anything wrong except play the game and maybe be, to us, a bit more boring than the OGs. Obviously, we wanted to see the OGs stick together, but the reason the OGs imploded is the OG's fault. No offense. Tim, I would say.
Oh, no.
Tim, I would say, is the main instigator to that. So it's not the newbies' fault that they capitalized on it. They had more people and they got rid of OGs. If you'd all kept as a tight group, it wouldn't have happened that way.
You're telling me, like, here I am, right, rocking up. And as soon as I realized that there was Tim and Drew, both from my season, there was no one else in that house that had that connection, right? You had Estelle and Layla, who are the two from the same season, but they were only two, and Layla went quite early. So I thought, this is a no-brainer. The three of us are going to be a watertight alliance, and we're going to just pick everyone else off. And then, of course, my very first week, I realized that neither of those two fuckers were interested in playing with me, had no interest. In fact, there's still, I need to speak to Joel at the finale, but he's come out and said that they pulled him aside and said, basically, you need to get rid of Tully because we can't. So they were trying to get rid of me, like, from day one.
But why?
Those two, I don't know. They don't like, it's interesting. It's so complex. Like, my relationship with both of those men is so complex. And I think
they're jealous. I think they're jealous of you and the airtime you get.
I just think that I kind of cramp their style. Like, I kind of feel like an annoying little sister by this point. It's like trying to hang out with my brothers and they're like, no, fuck off. Like, just don't play with us. And we play very different games. I'm very emotional, very active, a heart player, and they're both head players. So
when they had that advert though that had you, Tim, and Drew in the diary room, that was what everyone wanted to see. That got people so excited, like, oh my god, the three of them together again, and the conflict as well as the friendship. That was what we wanted to see. So to see Drew just go off and be snogging Sam in the corner, and Tim like just starting on you already, it was just like, no, this isn't what we want.
Oh, that scene, that it was so funny to watch it back, and I'm so glad they aired it the way they aired it, because I was hoping they would. But that morning, it was my second or third day, and I was just feeling really like a spare part. Like, it was really hard for me. I came in late for reasons that I'm not supposed to talk about, but it was out of my control, and it was never the plan. I was always supposed to come in night one. Okay. So Drew was supposed to surprise me, and things happened that, you know, we can't help. And I was coming in late. I knew, you know, every night that I was in hotel quarantine, I was like, another night of bonding, another night of getting to know you games, another night of alliance chats. And I know how imperative those first few days are in that house, because I've done it before. And I was just experiencing severe anxiety, severe FOMO. You know, I'd gone from being so excited and feeling so ready to do this again, and so positive and like, you know what, I'm grounded, I'm older, I'm wiser, I've got this. And then having that last little hurdle, it really put me in a bad headspace. I was like, do I even want to come in late? Like, I don't know if I can do this. And to come in late, have no one with me, because everybody else came in with at least a buddy, you know, come in like that, see Drew's already got Sam, you know, second or third day, Tim's coming at me. I was really isolated and really alone, and they didn't show how hard my first 2 weeks were, but I had no friends. Like the newbies were impenetrable. Like, I was trying, and I knew that I was going to be shocking at the challenges. Like, I'm usually generally quite a fit person, but we'd been in lockdown here in Melbourne for like 2 years straight. I hadn't seen a gym since like 2019. So, I mean, during lockdown, I went through those phases where I got really, really fit, and then I got really like, you know, started baking too much
no
banana
one had
bread.
The stamina to keep that.
No, I was like,
going.
No, I was like, I had the best ass of my life for a while there, because I was doing 100. I think I was doing 100 squats a day. Ridiculous. Anyway,
wow.
So I wasn't fit. I'm terrible with numbers, and I knew I would suck at the strategy side of things. So I knew that my social game was going to be all I had, really. And so to come in late on the back foot, the newbie OG alliance was already so strong. Like, I really said, I think I even said in my pre-interviews that I was like, I really hope it isn't like that, because that's really cliche, really predictable, really boring. But by the time I got in there, it was too late. The Berlin Wall was up, and I was like, I couldn't get into the other side.
It's kind of the natural order of things. I don't know if you're really allowed to answer this, but did you really not know Tim and Drew were going to be there?
I knew when they asked me to come back that if they were asking me, so the producers gave me no information. I've since heard that Tim managed to squeeze out a little bit from them, but of course it's Tim. I was given nothing, but I'm smart, and you know, this isn't my first rodeo. And with the resurgence of reality TV here in Australia, especially for the last couple of years, you know, we've had MasterChef All Stars, we've had Survivor, you know, contenders versus champs. There's been a lot of kind of bringing these old contestants back. It's kind of a trend, and so I knew if they were asking me to come back, I'm not just going to be one random ex-housemate coming in.
There's a dynamic there to capitalize
no sense.
On, right?
Yeah. So I figured it was either going to be all Stars, in which case Tim Dormer would absolutely be there, or half, you know, ex-housemates, half newbies, in which case Tim Dormer would absolutely be there. So I knew in my heart that Tim would be there. I was prepared for Tim. But Drew has always on my own podcast.
I heard him say it on your podcast, would never go back. Nothing to do with you being there or not. But
not in a million years. Couldn't pay me enough money in the world. You know, he denies the fact that he ever did the first time round. You know, people see him if people see him in the street and they're like, "Are you Drew from Big Brother?" He's like, no, and keeps walking. So I really just didn't think he would. I thought that I knew they weren't offering us, you know, a chunk of money. I knew that because I'd already tried to get a chunk of money.
Good.
And so I was like, unless they're giving him 30K or something to come back, he just won't do it. He loves his job, you know, he loves his new career. He's really moved on from that whole thing. Whereas I've very much stayed in the media, in the Big Brother family. You know, I live and breathe Big Brother. I really love it. And he just was never like that. So I truly was surprised. The only thing, oh God, sniffed into the microphone. There are a few things in hindsight that made me sort of question it leading up to it. First of all, because I came in late, I actually spent my birthday in hotel quarantine and I didn't hear from him. And over the years, no matter what's gone down or what's happening, I always hear from him on my birthday. And I thought, that's fucking interesting. Like, where the fuck are you? Why haven't you texted me? And then the first I knew for sure was I was waiting in the diary room and I had a producer holding me back, about to shove me down the hallway for that, you know, slow-mo stomping they do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that footage. I'm like, did she ever get down the hallway? She just constantly slow-mo walking down there. And he had a set of cans on and he was obviously communicating with a bunch of people. And right before he pushed me in, I heard through his headset, camera on Drew. And I was like,
talk about ruining their own game there as well.
So that's why I'm not like, you know, when I come around the corner, I kind of had a split second to register.
Turn around and run the other way.
To me, he didn't look shocked either. I think he maybe had a heads up from Tim or something because he didn't.
No, in the same way that I knew that Tim Dorman would be back, he knew that I would be back.
Yeah.
Like he knows I live and breathe the show. I've said publicly many times that I would love to do it again. So he actually said that he was surprised I wasn't in there when he got in there. He's like, oh, what?
Especially with him being in there, because there's no way he would be in there without you being there. Whereas you
Thank you so much.
Well, it's true. It's true.
I think they could have Tully without Drew. I don't think they could have Drew without.
There's no point to Drew without Tully, unfortunately. Sorry, Drew.
I'm glad you guys said that and I didn't have to say that. But I mean,
true. I mean, to me, it felt like even the first series, he didn't really seem to want to be. Not that he didn't want to be there, but just like he was just like, no, go with the flow. So the second time, again, he didn't really seem interested in like playing the game. He was just like, I don't know, there to
He's
look
too
pretty.
cool for school, no? Yeah.
Funny anecdote about old mate, big Tony Tones, Anthony Drew. The first time round, he almost didn't make it on. So he was literally almost not cast. And in fact, even funnier, Lisa Fardy, who was a junior producer our first time round, who is now the EP of Big Brother. She's the one that gave us, you know, all the phone call and said, come back. And we were like, oh, for you, Lisa, anything. She had to convince Alex Mavrodakis, who was our old executive producer, that Drew was worth it. And to do that, they had a last minute Skype call where basically a bunch of producers were watching from the wings, and all Drew did that whole time was flirt with Lisa, and that's how he got on the show. So
sounds about right.
His thing, I mean, I know you have a crush on him, and let's not pretend. Yeah, so I
used to think he was the most gorgeous man alive, as I'm sure you did at one point, but not anymore. I do still have a soft spot for him, but I know he is a twat as well. That's not you saying that.
He has the whole tall, dark, handsome, baby blue eyes. There was a fucking Facebook group that was just literally Drew's blue eyes. It wasn't a Drew Facebook fan group. It was his eyes Facebook fan group.
I might actually join.
Was in that fan group.
Everyone has a soft spot for a broody, you know, moody, fucked up, tortured kind of guy. You know, stomps around with his leather jacket and his rings and he's like, baby girl, and then fucks you over. Like, everyone has a thing for that.
Yeah, but this time round, it's a shame because it kind of ruined my feeling about him in the first season where I just loved him. So now I'm just like, oh, I can kind of see him for sort of what he is a bit more. Like he does just want to get with anyone and he is just a bit, you know, selfish and stuff like that. No, that's not you saying that. That's BB on Blast's opinion. But we wanted Drew to stay in because we wanted the drama.
Yeah, and you know what? I do think, and we felt this in the house when he came back from the mainframe. Yeah, it's tough. I love the guy. I want nothing but the best for him. You know, I don't want to drag him. And a lot of the interviews I did, they wanted me to be like, he stabbed you in the back. He betrayed you. He used you, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about him? But I refuse to do that because it is a game at the end of the day. And we've been through too fucking much to slag him off now. But first couple of weeks, I think we all go through withdrawals in there, right? Whether you are a coffee drinker, a smoker, whatever, everyone's going through a period of like, okay, we now can't eat the food we usually eat. We don't get to sleep when we want to sleep. We don't get coffee, blah, blah, blah. He was going through a pretty hectic withdrawal the first couple of weeks, and he was an absolute fucking asshole. And because we have that,
are we allowed to ask from what?
Smoking for one.
You're not allowed to smoke in the new Big Brother?
Not
at all.
We've never been able to smoke in Big Brother.
Oh, okay, we have in the UK.
No.
We used to have like a smoking area in the garden.
You used to have to smoke in the house in the UK back in the day.
Yes,
never. Australia have really hectic laws about showing or glamorizing smoking. You won't see anyone in any soap smoking ever.
Interesting.
But how about when it comes to like a movie or whatever, it's obviously accepted then, no? Or do they blur it out?
No, I mean, in movies and stuff, it's a bit different, but like in your home and aways, in your neighbors.
Yeah.
If someone's smoking, it's always like, you know,
the baddie.
Yeah, they're being busted, or like they're having a mental breakdown or something. We're told to cut all our vices a month out so that we don't go through these withdrawals. In the house, but he was still, he told me he was having sneaky cigarettes in hotel quarantine in the shower, like blowing it up into the, so he went through it, and then he kind of came out of it, and then he had Sam. And then once he came out of the mainframe, I don't know whether he kind of felt really grateful for a second chance and actually appreciative of what the fuck he was doing, but he had a complete shift and mood change. And he was actually the guy that I recognized from that point onwards. So we were getting along from mainframe onwards.
Okay. Yeah, we
saw that. Apart from failing to have your back and not being a complete peach.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what sucks about that?
Everything.
What hurts me? No, because what hurts me about my eviction was two things. Tim, who's no one's surprised, but I did grab Tim. They didn't show this. They showed me pulling Tim for a chat one time, but there was another chat that we had they didn't show, where I grabbed him and I said, Tim, like, I know you have your other stuff going on. I know you've got secret alliances that we don't know about, but I really need you. He goes, Tulls, oh my God, don't. Of course I've got you. Don't be ridiculous. And I burst into tears because I was so relieved, because I really didn't think that I could count on Tim, and he made me feel like I could count on him. And I felt really relieved. And then the other thing that hurt me was that I pulled Drew for that chat in the treehouse, where I basically got on my knees and said, look, I've done you 1,000,001 favors. I've saved your ass. I've saved your girlfriend a couple of times. I didn't want to have to ask for the favor to be returned, but here I am. I'm on my knees. Think of the 9 years. Like, I'm asking you to do me this one fucking favor. I'm like, you're safe. No one's even talking about you. It's me or Johnson. And I know you and Johnson are friends, but I fucking need you today. Yeah. And he didn't make any promises. You know, he said, look, Tulls, if you can get the majority, let me know, and I'll do you the favor. And I was like, right, okay, great. So then I ran around like a headless chook, thought I had the majority because Estelle, Gabby, Tim had all said, and Reggie had all said that they would support me. But he still hadn't come back and given me a definite answer. So had he left it at that, I wouldn't have expected anything from him, because he hadn't given me his word. But he went out of his way to come and find me in the bedroom.
Yeah, the bedroom chat.
That moment where he puts his hands on my face and he says, I've got you, Tulls. I've got you.
What a fucker.
Why? You didn't have to do that. And then stab me in the back. That felt malicious and personal and unnecessary.
Did he mean it at the time and then
in the moment? I was going
to
ask. Did he change his
mind?
He
told me afterwards. No, he told me afterwards that he said that because he was worried that I was organizing a blindside on him. So he wanted me. He didn't want me to go around and try and pull anything crazy last minute. He wanted me to feel comfortable enough that I wouldn't be trying to pull any other crazy moves. And then when he starts choking up in the diary room, I still, bless my dumb socks, I still thought he was choking up because he was going to have to fuck over Johnson. Little did I know that he was crying because he felt guilty. He was about to stab me in the back while looking me in the face and telling me he loves me. Like, fuck me.
It makes no sense, because you have that inbuilt loyalty with people you've known for years and years. Doesn't matter if you've had a fractured relationship here and there. That's they always say in all Big Brothers, that's like such a benefit. Like when you have like your sister in the house or a friend in the house, to get rid of that, to throw that away. I mean, Drew literally went the next day, didn't he? Sorry.
And what does he say? What does he say as I'm leaving? He said, I'll see you in a week.
Yeah. That was our picture of our podcast that week.
I was like, thank fuck.
Yes. Served him right.
I still, and you know what? Again, like this just shows the kind of like, I want, you know, when you have those people in your life and you want them to be better, you really do. And you give them benefit of the doubt and you just really want them to do better, be better. I hadn't even figured out what happened until I came back to the compound the next day to film on my post-interview stuff. I still couldn't figure out who flipped on me. I still thought that Drew had stuck to his word because I'm a fucking idiot. And I was like, because I'm hugging Gabby goodbye and I said, what happened? And Gabby said, Tim. And I was like, okay, so I knew Tim had flipped, but I couldn't figure out the others. I couldn't figure out where it had gone wrong. And then once I was told, I was like, that motherfucker. That motherfucker. Wow. Okay. And again, had he left it ambiguous, fair play. Sure. He didn't promise me anything.
It's the deception that's the problem, isn't it? Especially in such a kind of like
heartfelt manipulation.
Yeah.
It's the come here, I've got you, baby girl. Like, oh, suck my fucking dick, honestly. Just suck it.
I mean, that I'd say that was the tipping point in the game, and then the OGs were just going after that. So
because he could have really done with my point the next week, right? With
that was perfect when he said that. It's just
and if he had saved me against after Taras had put me up and it was him and Taras in the chairs, you best believe I'm putting a point on Taras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it would have been easy, even though I did want to outlast Drew. Had it played out the way it ended up playing out, Drew would have had my point. He would have been saved.
Well, I think reputationally post-season, I think people who perhaps didn't like you the first season would definitely like you now. And people who liked Drew in the first season probably don't like him anymore. Not that I'm making it a versus thing, but hold on, this thing's coming up.
We just started the timer. We thought we'd hack the system, so we might have to do it in and out.
Oh no!
But I think
let's talk till the end of it, and then you guys can do it again.
It's so annoying. Sorry about that. We're very unprofessional.
No stress.
But I think I think you only improved your perception to people, and I think others, not just Drew, their stock has dropped a little bit. No names mentioned.
It's been super interesting because you just don't know, right? You just don't know how it's going to go down. And I had so many reservations. I was so terrified, literally terrified. It's been really fucking hard, this whole thing for me. It has not been a piece of cake because, you know, I have so much to lose. I went in the first time, I blew my life up. I managed to salvage my reputation, make a career in Australia, change people's perceptions. To then go back, you know, I could ruin everything that I've built over the last 9 years. It could just gone any which way. And then to come in late, you know, to have this whole, you know, Drew's new girlfriend thing. I knew in the experience, I was really anxious because every time I was called into the diary room, rather than it being like, Tully, like, how was your day today? Or Tully, you know, how'd you go on the challenge? Or who are you going to put up? It was like, so Tully, how do you feel about Sam and Drew? Or so Sam and Drew had a conversation this morning, blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts on that? And I was literally putting my foot down because I'm older and wiser and I'm not going to be taken for a fucking fool. And I literally put my foot down and said, hey, guys, I'm not going to answer any more questions about Drew and Sam. If you want to talk to me about my game and my day, that's great. But because I knew I could foreshadow how they're going to cut it up. And I was like, I'm not having you make me look like I'm obsessed or that I'm hung up or that I'm bitter or that I'm angry or that I'm sad. So it was tough. It was tough in there. And so I didn't know how they're going to cut it all together. No. You know, and the trailers were
sensationalized.
Something else, using audio from 2013 and putting it over footage from this year.
Shut up.
That was wow. a hard pill to swallow. That was pretty tough.
Is that even allowed?
Allowed, yeah. Broadcasting.
It's standards. Like, you know, I came out and I said to we see like the wellness chick the day after you're evicted, who's fucking amazing, by the way. Shout out to Sarah if you're listening. She's incredible. And, you know, I said, I'm really proud of myself. It was fucking hard. I was up against it on more than one level. You know, it's not normal to live with your ex-boyfriend in that kind of environment.
Ever.
And, alone with him getting off with somebody else the whole time.
And it's also not normal I couldn't even vocalize how that made me feel with my friends, with Gab, with Estelle, with Alicia, because that audio and that footage would be used in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I was having to internalize everything. And that's not healthy to be like pushing so much shit down.
No.
And, you know, and there are a few other things where it really did feel sometimes like Big Brother didn't like me, you know, like everybody with the Temptation week, everybody saw a video from home except for me.
Yeah.
Every single housemate. With the ball pit, every single person that chose Temptation got a burger, a pie, of something. I got a cabbage. And there were just these constant things where I was like, you're trying to get a reaction out of me. You're trying to get a Tully 2013 tantrum out of me. And that was hard. That was hard to deal with and just cop. I felt like I was just getting punched every day. I was just copping every single thing on the chin. And it's exhausting, you know?
Do you think that's because you weren't playing ball in the diary room, maybe giving them that they wanted?
I was pulled up by, twice I had a talking to, and they basically said, and I get it. It's tough. I get it. They basically were like, and this is fair play. They're like, Tully, if you don't give us your opinion or your perspective on this, someone else will. So either you tell your side of the story and how it's making you feel. Like they need to make a show, right? I get that. Yeah. But all I wanted to do, all I wanted to do was come back and play on my own. I wanted to play my own game on my own 2 feet without a ball and chain, and to come back and never be able to do that, never have a chance to do that was hard, was rough. I had 3 beautiful days when he was in that mainframe, and they were just chef's kiss. They were great.
Yeah. I was really sort of rooting for you to get that as well, and for you to be the one that outlasted. It would have been such a good moment.
Technically, guys. I'm fucking sticking with that. I technically, and you know what? That was fucking hard. Like you called it every time there's a challenge, we're all one by one called into the diary room to ask. I guess it's in case any of us win, right? So they get kind of their admin out of the way, and we're called into the diary room and they say, if you win today, who will you put up? Every challenge. And my dream 3, and I don't know if this is going to go down well or not, but I'd fantasize, right? If I could, because I've never, in both seasons, I never got to make any big moves. I never pulled any, you know, I was always just like, oh, can't we all just be friends? I was never a strategic player. So I'd have these moments of like, wow, if I won, you know, what would I do? What would I do? What would be some amazing move? And I'd often fantasize about putting Drew, Tim, and Reggie up.
Oh,
now obviously Reggie's a safe vote. I know they don't exist, but
never know.
It was to squish either or out.
I
really felt that if I managed to get one of those boys out, like that's fucking iconic.
That would have been great
for me.
That would have been great. Yeah.
So would you not have worried about like what the public thought about
the backlash?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And also, see, I'm more fucking talk. I'm more bark, no bite. Like, I'd go in there and I'd say this, but I still would do anything for those boys. I really would. And I, you know, I love Tim, and I'm kind of similar to Estelle in that all I ever wanted to do is play with Tim. Just because I feel, again, you know, I feel like this little kid at playgroup, and I just want to share my toys with Tim, and he just has no interest. But I try every day. I'm like, truck, you know, ball. Do you want to? No, not today. All right, I tried.
Tim really brings that playgroup energy as well.
He does. He has this amazing knack of like, you fear him, you love him, you know, you desperately want him to like you, but then some days you're like, you're actually the so awful, like you're so mean, but yet I still want to impress you. Like, how can I be your friend? Let me be your friend. So I had all these dreams and stuff, but it did get to a point where I was like, I actually need Drew to go so that I can play my own game, which is why, so putting that point in him, you know, for the snap eviction, what they didn't show was that I wasn't the last vote. Like, I didn't just hop on the bandwagon. It was already going.
Sure.
I actually voted quite early on in the piece. It was still anybody's game. JC could have gone. Alicia could have gone. I think JC, Alicia, and Drew all had a point or two on them. So, you know, a lot of people on Twitter are saying, you know, it wasn't a big move. She wasn't doing anything. He was already going by a landslide. It's like, no, actually, I sucked my neck out and I risked it by putting my point on him. And that took a lot out of me physically, emotionally, mentally, as we all saw, the infamous up against the glass, like Kim Kardashian ugly crying.
Really broke me that. It was so
Gaz was crying.
And I really felt for you in that situation, knowing that you then had to deal with him coming back.
You can see, I think, if you've followed along for, the 9 years or you know me at all, it was hard for me to watch that back because you can see I'm in actual turmoil. Like I'm struggling with my decision, even though I wanted to do it, even though it was best for my game, or was it? Who knows? Even though I wanted to do it and I was trying to make a big move, I still care about the guy. I still want the best for him. As we've seen, he says jump and I often say how high still. So it really felt like a really important life-changing moment of me kind of cutting that fucking tie for once and for all, getting rid of the emotional manipulation, getting rid of this feeling of being duty bound to him. I felt like I had to do what I had to do to protect him all the time. And I felt free. I did. I was sad and I felt guilty because that was his chance of, $250,000. But I felt free for 3 days.
And then they took it back off you.
Yeah, and it entirely explains the context of that reaction. Like hearing you say that now, it makes so much sense.
Oh, I was taught. I'm all barking no bite. I wanted to do it, and then I did it, and immediately I felt sick about it. And it was him. When you're feeling upset, and then someone says, "Oh, are you okay?" and it makes you more upset.
Yeah.
When I put my point at him, and he said, "Proud of you."
We are going to drop off, so we're going to have to
hold on.
Less
than a minute. That was quick.
Should we go and come back?
Yeah.
Does anyone need
a new link? I'll need a new link.
It's the same link. It's our personal meeting link. It's
okay,
a set
cool.
up meeting. So
all right.
Cool.
Be right back.
All right. BRB.
Hello. Welcome to part 2. Sorry, Zoom sucks. Gaz, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to talk to you, Tully, about anxiety. As someone who has dealt with anxiety myself, I had a ton of therapy lately, and I know you're really pro therapy and you're fully into facing your anxieties and stuff. That environment must be really hard for someone living with anxiety. So how do you, obviously you maybe haven't got your coping mechanisms that are outside of the house. How do you get on in there?
Do you know what?
Also, I've joined you with a beer, by the way, because I can't let you drink by yourself because it's now nearly 12.
It's lunchtime.
No one told me.
Lunchtime beers.
No one told me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, drink, Lindsay. Go on.
Here, if you just hold a glass up, Lindsay, I'll pour through the screen. Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Gaz. I didn't know I had anxiety until after the first time round. So I had grown up a really anxious kid. In hindsight, again, hindsight's 2020. And I think us as a generation now, how old are you guys?
36, ma'am.
He's 36. I'm 42. I'm old.
You're not 42.
I am.
Oh my God, you look like 20 years younger.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my God. Well, I'm 35 in October, so similar age to you guys. And I think that as a generation now, it's just something we know more about, right? Whereas when I was a little kid, my parents are a bit older. Dad's 75 now. Mum's obviously passed away, but they didn't know anything about anxiety or mental health or anything like that. So when I was coming home and, I feel sad for little Tully because she was constantly worried for everything and everyone. She was never relaxed. She was never peaceful. I'd lie in bed at night and I was convinced that someone in my family was going to get cancer and die. And I would make deals with God that it would be me and not my family. I would make all these deals. I'd make all these deals at night in my bed. I'd be like, okay, so I know someone in my family is going to get a disease and they're going to die. Can it just be me and no one else? And I'd make Dad go out into the garden and check for snakes because I'm terrified of snakes. And I was convinced there were snakes living in my garden. I'd watch the news and there'd be a gas explosion or a bushfire and it would bring me to tears. And I would be so worked up and so stressed about those poor people in that country or that city or that town. What are they going to do, Mummy? They haven't got any homes anymore and they have no clothes and how are they going to, I was just so worried about everything and everyone. And my parents tried everything, bless them. Again, at the time, it was just a different generation and they're from a different generation. So I had a dream catcher, to try and suck out all my bad dreams and my anxiety. I had worry wart dolls, where Have you guys know what those?
Yeah, I used to have
what is that? I
used to
don't know
have
what that
them.
is.
Yeah, I used to
I don't know
What
if it's
is
an
that?
old wives' tale
Yeah.
or if it's I don't know what culture it stems
Yeah.
from, but there are these ugly little fucking things. I don't even know what they're made of, and you buy them. They're little. I don't know. I have to look this up.
They're hard
But there
to
were these
describe.
little. Yeah, there were these little handmade dolls, and
Okay.
the idea was that you'd put them under your pillow at night, and they would like take all your worries away.
Sure.
So my
Old
parents would do
wives'
stuff
tales
like,
kind of
yeah,
things.
probably
Did
something
they
that was passed down.
Yeah, do you think they believed that, or was it just something they thought, well, this will help our child,
I think they were
It's like a
hoping
placebo.
that it would help me.
Okay.
If I thought something else was taking them away, that they'd go away magically. But I was
Sure.
such an anxious kid all the time about everything. I went to a preschool, and God, it would never fly now. But if you had been a naughty boy or girl, for whatever reason, you'd get a black permanent marker spot on your hand.
Oh my God.
And I was the sweetest, most innocent child. I hated getting in trouble, but I was so terrified at the prospect of getting that black spot on my hand that I started vomiting on the way to preschool every morning because I was so worked up about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my parents couldn't figure out, do you know what I mean? Like just such an anxious kid. And so, but it wasn't really until, I think my anxiety would flare up at kind of moments you'd expect it to, when my mum was diagnosed with early onset dementia, when I went through my first big breakup. I remember I had my first ever panic anxiety attack during my uni exams. And I was in the supermarket and trying to pick a pasta sauce. And suddenly I was just so overwhelmed at the amount of choices and the different brands. And it was all too much for me. My hearing went, my vision went, and I was just hyperventilating. So, but I still didn't really quite know that it was anxiety because I'd always just sort of dealt with it. I just thought that I was just a fucking stressed child.
And no one tells you what that is and how to recognize it either.
And also still back then, that was when I was 20. We still weren't talking about it like we talk about it now. Yeah. And we weren't sharing these moments or these, oh, do you have that as well? I get that too. There was no kind of understanding of it. So it wasn't until post Big Brother the first time round where my life was literally falling apart at the seams and I was in a really dark place that I knew I had to see a psychologist. And they were like, you have severe anxiety. You probably had generalized anxiety since you were a little girl. And I was like, oh, fuck, now I have a name to it. And once I had a name to it, it kind of, so many other things fell into place. And I could look back on all those little things when I was, a little girl and be like, fuck me. Yeah. I was just a really anxious fucking kid, like so anxious. But I didn't really kind of have it under control until post show. And looking back, I so wish that I had more understanding of it because I could have, as you said before, Gaz, like you'd learn through therapy, self-soothing techniques, what works for you, whether it's a guided meditation, whether it's you having to physically remove yourself and go for a walk, take your shoes off, get your feet, in the ground, in the soil, in the ocean, wherever it needs to be, whether it's music, whether it's breathing techniques, whether it's whatever it works for you.
Yeah.
And had I had those, and also medication, I have Valium that I use when I have a panic attack or a bad anxiety day that I can't self-soothe, and it kind of builds and it builds and it builds and it gets to the point where I'm not able to self-soothe anymore. That's when I resort to medication. It's kind of only for emergencies because it is very addictive, and you don't want it to be a crutch because it can very easily. So
I'm kind of at that place where I'm resisting kind of going on medication where, but at the point, I was at the point where I felt like I needed it, but I also didn't want to be stuck on it because you have to take a lot of antidepressants long term.
Yeah. I've been there a couple of times too, where my anxiety has been so bad and my doctor and my psychologist has been like, maybe you should consider some regular anti-anxiety medication. But same as you, Gaz, like the thought of being reliant on something every day that changes me in that way. I wanted to do everything in my power to work through it before resorting to that. And there's been twice in my life where it's been really bad. And I've literally been days away from going, you know what? No, give me the meds. And I've just come through the other side.
Yeah. It's because when you're stuck in that little spiral in that moment, you can't really see a way out, and then you want to reach for that to get you out.
Of course.
But then when you do come out, you're like, actually, no, this isn't forever.
But I think it's worth, medication is helpful, and it can be that break in that cycle that you need. You know, you might just need to take the one Valium and break that vicious cycle and, you know, pause that panic attack for you to get a clear head the next day and actually feel a lot brighter and better. There's no harm. I think there's still so much stigma around antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication. And I think we really need to work on eradicating that, because Valium at certain points in my life has been an absolute godsend, and it's made me be able to get through the day into the next day. And often, you know, you wake up the next day and the next day is brighter. It usually is, but sometimes it can feel like that day when you're stuck in it is never ending. You can't eat, you can't focus on anything. You know, it's debilitating. You can't work. You know, you're a terrible partner. You're a terrible friend. You just want to shut the whole world away. And I'm sad that I didn't have my mental health under control the first time round, because I think that, you know, this label that I've lived with for, you know, my whole life, Hurricane Tully, Typhoon Tully, Tully is insane, Tully is crazy, over emotional, she cries too much. I've always been an emotional person, and I'm no longer apologizing for that. I was apologizing for it for a long time, but fuck that. No, you know, that's who I am. And I think it takes strength to be vulnerable, and it takes strength to be emotional. But I do think that if I'd had my mental health under control and knew about my anxiety and about the self-soothing techniques the first time round, you would have seen a lot less of those outbursts. You know, I was lost, and I was dealing with a lot of trauma at the time. My mum, my, you know, confusion, and my sort of figuring out my sexuality, like that was a really scary journey
and on TV
to be on as
well, with, you know, the unknown of what people were making of it on the outside, your family too.
And like I didn't realize that I had become this unwilling poster child for, you know, homosexuality, bisexuality. I had no idea that was happening on the outside world. But I was going through a lot, and it was all unresolved trauma, and I didn't have a shrink. And I would love, you know, I just wish that I had more understanding of what was happening, because I feel like a lot of those emotions, a lot of those outbursts, a lot of those tantrums, a lot of that, you know, anguish that I was going through, I would have been able to deal with it a lot better. But this time round, it was so helpful. So firstly, I made sure that I had, you know, an emergency pack of Valium with the Big Brother doctors if and when I got to a point where I needed it.
Sure.
I didn't actually never needed it, which was actually so great. And I felt really good about the fact that I was able to talk myself off the ledge before needing anything else. But, you know, I had those techniques. I was very prepared for Tim Dormer to rile me up. And I really didn't want to let him upset me to the point that I used to get upset. So even that, you know, that first big argument that we had, you see me remove myself from the situation. I knew if I sat on that couch and continued to engage with Tim with the toing and froing, you'd get an Estelle blow up, right? And I was like, no, I'm going to walk away. And so I walk away into the treehouse. I try and calm down. Tim comes for me and tries to continue it. So I walk away again, you know, and I think there's only so much you can do in that small house, but having those self-soothing techniques and things that I knew helped, you know, I had other stuff that helped me. I took in a essential oil, cedarwood, which is for grounding. And I would take that and put it on my wrist and just sniff that in a quiet place. Finding those quiet pockets in the house, it's very hard. There aren't
I was going to say, where are those quiet pockets? The laundry room.
So I'm so glad that they didn't show any of this, but I would often, between the newbie bedroom and the OG bedroom, if you think about where Tim's bed is, so at the end of the room, so you've got Tim and Estelle at the back, there's a little kind of walkway where you can walk along the cupboards into the newbie bedroom. And there was like a divider. I would sit with my back towards the divider. So my back's towards the divider, my front's facing the cupboards. And it felt, there were still cameras that could see me, but these
are the wardrobes that we see, where there's a chair.
No, so that's the boudoir. That's our boudoir. Okay. They call it the walk-in wardrobe. We call it the boudoir. We had little drawers in the bedrooms against the back wall. I'd take a photo of Daniel and I would go and sit on the ground behind the petition so that if you walked into the bedroom from the main door, you couldn't see that I was sitting there. And that's where I felt most safe and most at peace. And that's when I'd sort of stop, have my photo of Daniel, I'd just stare at it like this, put my grounding oil on and just take a few breaths and just try and I also, I requested to speak to the show psychologist, I think twice as well, which I was probably too scared to do the first time round because it felt like I was being dramatic or being, precious.
But that would be private.
Wrong with me. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So that is the only way you can talk to somebody without a camera on you. So
but even first time around, no one would have known you'd asked for that. I guess on live feed, if you spoke about it, they would have. Hang on, there wasn't a live feed for you, was there?
No, there was the live Twitter. There was a Twitter feed that would do like minute updates.
Tully has asked to talk to the psychologist. They just would never do that.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. I was actually forced to speak to a psychologist the first time round.
Get in there.
I was called to the diary room, and when I went in there was a person sitting there, and I was like,
"Oh my god, you must have shut yourself." Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, we just want to check in on you. You know, you're getting pretty upset with these evictions." And I was like, "That's fair."
You were.
I cried every day, like I was losing a limb. Every single person. I was like, "No, don't go."
We were commenting on that when we were rewatching it recently.
I was very upset, wasn't I? You can tell I have abandonment issues, right? Like I've got serious mummy issues, like people that I love leaving me. I'm like, everyone I love leaves me. So yeah, there were a few things that I had in my sort of, mental health tool belt this time round that definitely helped for sure.
But theoretically, being in there, not to mention him again, but with Drew, how were you thinking about not just the perception of that, but did your boyfriend know that there was a possibility that you would be in there with Drew, and how did he feel about that? And were you? I guess you were worried about the edit showing something in a way that they shouldn't. Are you looking to see if he's listening?
No, I just sniffed off the mic because I'm trying to not sniff into the microphone.
He's not interested in listening to this.
No. Again, when I was asked to come back, I thought, okay, I won't be the only person. And as much as I would have given, I would have bet $500 on the fact that Drew wouldn't be back in that house. I thought it would be amiss of us to not discuss the possibility, Daniel and I were only 4 months into our relationship and we'd spent those 4 months in lockdown. So we'd been really insular, like he wasn't public on my Instagram account. I hadn't shared that. People knew I was dating someone. They didn't know who he was.
Did you mention him on a podcast, but bleep his name?
Maybe.
I was listening to one of your podcasts and you were talking about like dating someone, but you like dipped the sound for the name. I think that was...
That would probably be because I said his name and then was like, fuck, I'm not supposed to say his name. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So we had this beautiful little love bubble of 4 months of just us, on the couch doing lockdown stuff. So it was early days. It was really early days to be asking him.
Lockdown stuff. Nothing. We know what that is.
Oh no, literally like playing Articulate and drinking Aperol spritzers, trying to make it a fun time when it was not a fun time. Developing a drinking problem and everything else. So we had a chat about it, and I said, look, I don't see it happening, but on the off chance that someone has somehow managed to convince Drew to come back, how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
And he was like, look, it was nearly 10 years ago. Like, I trust you. It's fine. I trust you. And his only request was that I treated Drew the same way I treated every other housemate. And I think that by watching back, I think that's very clear that I did. He didn't get any special treatment. We barely spoke. The only time he would put me for a chat is to ask me to do his dirty work. So, he was great. It has been hard, since. I think he's not really into reality TV. He doesn't really watch anything. He kind of taps in and out of Survivor, but even then he doesn't dedicate. He'll miss bulk episodes. And I'm like, you don't even understand what's happened. Like, don't ask me to explain it to you. Like, it's too late. You've missed too much. So I think he grossly underestimated the public's interest in us. And so when the trailers started dropping and there were all these articles about us, he was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, why does everyone care? And I was kind of like, Yeah, so we were kind of like, a big deal.
Well, how has he managed to not know about Tully from Big Brother?
He had no idea who I was when we met. His housemate told him. He's like, "Oh, that name sounds familiar. Was she on a TV show?" He's like, "I don't know. Was she?"
Wow.
Like,
and also, I don't know, but I guess there's not that many Tullys around. Tully sounds quite a unique name.
No, but also like he, if he didn't know who I was, he didn't watch the first time round. I'm not posting about Drew. Like he doesn't, he hasn't listened to the. He just didn't know.
It's just an X to him.
And so he was a little bit taken aback at how much of a drama was being made around this reunion, Australia's biggest love triangle. So that's been really hard. It's been hard for me. It's been hard for him. It's been hard. I get it, like I've done this shit before.
Yeah, and you know the game.
Even fully. And I know how TV works. And I know that they're going to, because when the trailers started, I was like, on the phone to everyone that would listen to me. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Because I know, because I lived the experience, that there is nothing that could, you can't even, I don't care how much frankenbiting you do, you can't create this storyline. So what the fuck is this trailer, right?
Yeah.
And, everyone points the finger at everybody else. Oh, it's their fault. It's them. It's their doing. But I was assured time and time again that they obviously were going to milk that for the trailers, but that once the show actually starts, everyone's going to see that there's actually nothing to it.
There was really nothing that they could show. I mean, the only thing they could show was you obviously have a long-standing relationship with each other, and there's a sort of an old intimacy between you, but you can tell now it's like he's like an old family member or an old friend. It's nothing sexual in it at all. And there's no way they could make it seem like that because you could just tell it wasn't.
I think it's hard as well. And this is what Daniel has been struggling and what we've been struggling as a couple is that I'm someone, who has always remained close with my exes. It's not super common. I've had this conversation so many times with my own friends being like, what, like how and why? I feel like if you spend a bulk amount of time with somebody and you go on holidays and you go through experiences together and you meet their family, it's kind of sad to just cut them off forever and see them never again. I don't want to do that. Even people who have hurt me, and don't get me wrong, Drew hurt me very badly. And I have every fucking right to be an absolute cunt.
You can say it. You can say it on BB on Blast.
Cunt. I have every right to be a cunt. But I think it takes, I think it shows maturity and emotional intelligence to go above that and actually just be a civil person. I think it would be more concerning, in my opinion, if I went in there bitter and angry and pissed off. That shows that I'm still hung up on him and that he bothers me.
Yeah, no growth over that massive expanse of time.
He's a mate. He's been a mate for nearly a decade. We've gone through shit together. My mum died. Like, we've gone through breakups. I've helped him through breakups. He's helped me through heartbreak. We're mates. And
and also it's the Big Brother connection is probably makes it deeper as well, don't you think? Living that experience together.
That's it. We are closer than most of my other exes because we do have that life-changing experience. The connection that I have with Tim and that I will always have with Tim, I have that with Drew. And then you add a romantic relationship on top of that. That's not something that you can just throw away or that, evaporates. We're always going to have that connection. As I've said, in a couple of my interviews, Drew and Tim are family to me now, and they always will be. And you can go through periods where you fucking hate your family. Like you don't talk to them for months. You literally want to punch them in the face. But then every Christmas you get back together and you share pavlova and you hug and you kiss hello and everything's fine. So those two, I want to punch them in the face often.
And we do as viewers as well, but we still love them as like. I know Tim's been getting a lot of shit lately, but to me, Tim has always been like a bit of a dickhead at times. Like he always has been.
And you're also a big fan of Tim. I know that as well.
I fucking love Tim. Tim's one of the best BB characters ever.
I agree.
He can be a right twat and he can be a little bastard like he is to you. That's just a fact. I'm sure he'd admit it himself.
It's actually the same as us. Like he'll piss us off and then win us back over the next episode. So we have an up and down relationship with him as well.
Yeah.
He's fascinating, isn't he? Like I just find him so fucking fascinating.
Mm.
I've known him now for 9 years. You know, he's had a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of things that happen in his life.
Yeah.
We've hung out, we've traveled together. And yet, yeah, it just...
You never quite know where you stand with him by the
No,
looks of it.
and I really thought we were friends, and I thought, you know, we would be solid. And in all the pre-Big Brother stuff, they were like, oh, you know, what if, you know, how do you feel about Tim? And what about you and Tim, you know, being arch enemies and love, hate? And I was like, no. What? I was like, that's like fucking 9 years ago. Tim and I are sweet now.
Yeah.
And to go into the house and realize that, I'm like, oh, are we not sweet? Like, what? And then some days we were best friends. Some days he just went off me for no reason. But I definitely felt this time around that I had just made peace with it. And as I said, you know, to Estelle, I tried to say to Estelle, I was like, look, if you loved him and you have fun with him, if you don't trust him, if you don't tell him any secrets, if you don't take his word, if you don't, you know, expect loyalty, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You can have a really fun time with Tim. It's when you expect something from him. It's when you trust him. It's when you want him to be loyal. That's when you're let down, and that's when you're disappointed. And it was hard for me. I basically felt like I was watching Estelle go through what I went through the first time around.
You'd
and I
learned
was
the
trying
lesson.
to shake her and be like, you just need to let Tim go, man. I get it. You want to love him. You want him to love you. You just need to let him go. Stop expecting him to do better. Stop expecting him to change. He's not going to. Okay. And all you're doing is upsetting yourself time and time again. I was like, you just need to let it go.
It did remind me the way Estelle was with Tim in the second season, the way you were with him in the first season.
That fight they had over the lollies, I felt like I was in some fucking weird, you know, sliding doors universe, where I was watching this, you know, because Estelle and I are so different, but also have a lot of, we've got similar trauma, let's say that. And I could see her and she was so hurt. She's looking at him like, I love you. Like, I just want to work together. And I'm like, oh, babe, you just don't get it. Hey, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
You just don't get it.
It will always be a TV show and a game first for Tim, I think, which has become evident now, even above personal connections, which is it's quite hard to take, I would imagine, for some people.
He happily leaves out at the door. And I think he has this confidence in that once the show's done, everything's going to be fine, because that's what's been the case.
Yeah, that is
fine.
I mean, him and Estelle have some work to do, I think. They're definitely not on talking terms.
We saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he did try to reach out to Estelle to apologize. She's just not quite ready to, which is totally, you know, fair enough. He did do that podcast episode, which I'm sure you guys have seen, where he kind of publicly apologizes to her. I'm glad that I knew that he'd reached out privately before doing that. If he'd just done the podcast, I'd have been like, But the fact that I knew he'd actually tried privately to make amends. Yeah.
And you mentioned
Tuesday will be interesting. Tuesday will be really interesting.
I'm curious. And you mentioned it earlier, but how does it feel to have like the Frankenbites happen and to see your words like cut out like that? Because it's fucking insane this year how much they're doing. It's too much. I go to write something down for the podcast and I'm like, I'm not writing that down because they didn't even say that. Like, how weird does that feel for you?
It's bizarre. It's so I can't even I don't know how much I can say.
Oh yeah, be careful, don't get in trouble.
That the clip of Drew and I having that heart to heart by the pool on my eviction episode, that happened in week 2.
No way.
That was actually because, as I said earlier, like he'd been not in the greatest of moods. He'd been, you know, going through it, and I was copping it a bit. And I was kind of over it, and I was sick of us fighting. And I was like, look, can we just call a truce? Like, I'm sorry if I'm triggering you. I probably am, like, subconsciously. Yeah. You're being a real fucking asshole to me. Can you just like not be so aggressive? Can we just, I was embarrassed. You know, I was like, that's why I'm holding my hand like this when I'm talking to him. I was like, can we just please fucking get along? Like, everyone else is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Our constant bickering. No one wants to be around that. It's awkward. Constantly taking shots at each other. It's not comfortable for anybody. And I was like, I literally was embarrassed. And I was like, can we just please pull it together? I'm sorry for whatever I've done to upset you. Obviously, it's something every day. And can you just talk to me a little bit nicer? Just don't be so fucking cutting, so moody, so snappy, so aggressive. So that was from weeks and weeks prior to when we saw it. And then there's that clip of me walking around in my shorts and all you see is back of my head. And the audio implies that I'm having a whinge about being named the biggest whinger. But that's from a completely different week,
right?
That footage. So I understand how reality TV works. I totally get it. And I can, and I think also as a society and as viewers, we're getting smarter and we're more clued on to that Frankenbiting. But it is hard. And I've seen other housemates voice this as well. It is hard to watch when your words are being taken out of context and slapped onto different scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hang on, that's actually not what happened.
And also it's not reality TV then. It's not reality.
You know what? I fucking get it. It's hard. I feel for these producers because they said to us, they're like, we overdid it. Like they had content coming out of their ears. We gave them so much shit every single day. Like there's so much you guys haven't seen. There is so much going on.
Because we want to see it all. It's so
I know. And do you guys get access to the 7+ clips?
No, not really.
Not really. It's hard for us.
Struggle to get on there.
Because what I'm seeing as a, BB loyalist, as a old school fan, as a, those clips that they put up, those additional like extra BTS bits on 7+, that is what we want to see.
That's the real content, right?
It's us making tinfoil hats on Hacker Week because we were so fucking bored, and it's us doing a fashion show where we dress up as each other.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of that.
You know what I mean? That is what we want to see.
Yeah.
Just us being us being dumb, us being funny, us making friendships, The
format is too rigid around the competitions. We want to see those natural conversations. The competitions are training, but we want to see it so rigidly set, like the shopping task, the competition. We're missing like those, people just chatting. Which is what
Don't you think
we watch reality TV for those human moments, and they're mostly being edited out, which doesn't quite make sense. And I don't know why they're not listening, because I know a ton of people have said this.
I know. I feel like as a viewer, I mean, I'm obviously focusing on clips with myself because, that's what sticks in my mind, the most. But I feel like the clip with me and Drew talking in the 3 shirt with poor Lulu attached to us.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
About our relationship, about, how far I've come, and me admitting that for a long time I was waiting around for him. And then that clip again by the pool, to me, that was the most real Big Brother stuff you got to see, right? That was us just talking, us being Tully and Drew, having a real live conversation. And it's like, so they've been, I don't know.
We were crying out for that, and we praised that too. I remember we actually said on the podcast that was the most real this has felt.
Yeah, and I feel like, so they've got it in them, they know that's there. It's like we just want to see a bit more of that. And I think if it is picked up again for next season, we haven't heard so far. Do they need a nightly show? Will that give us more of that? Do they have a live stream so that we get to see that? Like what? I feel like there only needs to be some little tweaks for it to actually be really great, because it's all there. The content is there. The housemates are great. These newbies are copying it so badly, but they are fucking fantastic. I loved playing with them. They're so great. Alicia is actually the best. Johnson is just, and we're just not seeing it. And
that's a shame.
It's been rough for me. I came out singing these people praises. I was like, you wait, I was speaking to Daniel. I was like, you're going to love this person. Australia's going to fucking love Alicia. Yeah. And then I'm watching the show and reading Twitter, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, they hate her.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. She hasn't come across well in these edits. Obviously her nice bits have been left behind.
She's a female Tim. Like her and Tim.
Oh my God.
Her and Tim were 2 little naughty school kids. She was like kind of like the Tahan to Tim this season.
Okay, yeah.
And they would run around and cause mischief and pull pranks, and you haven't seen it.
I do feel bad that they're getting so much shit, because none of them have done anything wrong. Like even Tarasio, I know he's like being the villain now. Like he's like don't we want that? Don't we want some characters to be a bit evil, and don't we want conflict, or do we want everyone to just get along? You know,
I think
I saw Tully's face when I said that. Maybe the wrong person.
Trust. I've been speaking to all the housemates, and I spoke to Johnson yesterday, and what he said something, and I thought, fuck, that's really interesting. The fact that we as OGs were allowed to keep our social media as is, but the newbies had to only post supplied Big Brother content and talk and act as if they were presently in the it was present day, right? He said, it sucks because the public already knew who you guys were. They've watched you before. They've followed you on social media. They know you. So, of course, they're going to be more warm to you. Of course, they're going to be vouching for you. He was like, if we'd been able to use our social media as we wanted, maybe they could have seen a bit more about who we are. Like, if he was able to post videos in real time of his thoughts after an episode, or post little reels of him with his family throughout the show airing, maybe we'd get to see who Johnson is, because you guys aren't feeling the warmth for them because you don't know them.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100%.
You know me, and you know Drew.
Yeah.
Of course you're vouching for us because you know us. You don't know these guys.
Yeah, you're right.
But it can be done. We've seen it done before in Canada, where there were people come back and new people as well. And it didn't fall quite the same, did it? It wasn't quite so divided. I feel like we managed to warm to some people who are new as well.
But I feel like you guys have warmed to some of the newbies, have you not?
Yeah. We have.
Have we? Who?
Well, Brenton, you like?
Of course, you like Brenton.
No, Brenton's the win, only because I don't want any of the others to win. If Reggie is no longer there,
which we don't know.
Pause. Hold that chat about Brenton.
Oh no!
And I'm going to plug my phone in.
Okay.
Do you guys want to call me back?
Or give it like 10 minutes for the file to just.
Oh, for it to compress. Cool. All right.
Here's Tully.
BRB again.
A bit.
Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious ultra low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
So, Gaz was saying you wanted Brenton to win. I wasn't sure about this. What do you think, Tully? Actually, you can't say I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like I do sort of, I know you guys think it's really funny, but I do feel similar to Reggie in that, like, I don't know, I was personally offended that I left before Brenton did. I would have been fine. I would have been fine to leave before Jules, because Jules was playing a fucking fierce game. Like, she was there to play.
Yeah.
The minute she went around during that scramble and was trying to get people to go against Reggie, I was like, oh, no, you're going to be is this the first person that's going to go against Reggie? Like, she ruffled some feathers, and, she came in there, didn't like Drew, saw through his fucking charm and bullshit, like saw through Tim. Like, she was a fierce fucking player. And I would have been happy to go before Jules. But Brenton, I was like, how are you still in there, dude? Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you bring? What are you doing?
I described him as a bump on a log last week on the podcast.
He's a sweet kid. I liked Brenton. I did. Like, we had a weird moment where he pulled me aside and was like, are we okay? Like, I've been hearing you saying shit behind my back. And I'm like, what? I was like, dude, are you for real? I was like, I don't have anything against you. Like, that's just not true. But it is, I won't lie, it's a hard pill to swallow, the fact that he's still in there as an intruder. And so many of us.
Maybe he'll be the first. Maybe he'll be the first intruder to win. Who knows?
Maybe we'll have to wait and see.
So let's ask you a few more quick fire questions, Tully. Although how quick fire they'll be with you, I don't know.
I know. I just talk and talk and talk and talk. No, sorry.
So when you knew you were going in with the new format, how worried were you about doing these very kind of athletic competitions? Because when we saw that and we saw the OGs, we thought, oh shit, well, the OGs are a bit older. And some of them weren't that fit. You were pretty fit. There's a lot of others who are fit, but we were like, oh shit, they're all going to just go. So that when you lasted a decent amount of time and Tim lasted decent, we were like quite happy because we thought you wouldn't have a hope in these competitions. No offense.
Well, thanks for the confidence. No, I was very honest in all my pre-interviews. We were asked a lot of these questions, in our pre-chats. And I was like, I'm going to be terrible. Like, this is just not the game I was designed to play. The reason I was so keen to do Big Brother, apart from being a super fan, was that it is the easiest show to do. Like, you go in the house, back in the days, you go in the house and you sunbake for a bit and you maybe do like, one quick hit in the treadmill and that's about it. Our Friday night games that we had, or the Friday feast, I think can't remember what it was called now, but they were like fun stuff, like sit in a bath of ice and eat an icy pole the fastest, like that was great. I knew I would struggle and I was scared. I was scared about the challenges, the physical challenges, because I knew I'd be shocking. And I was really nervous about having to nominate and speak about that kind of stuff out loud, because I, as a fan of the show, watching the previous 2 seasons, I found it hard to watch. I was always like, oh God, this is uncomfortable. Like the begging, like the scramble is just so uncomfortable to watch. People like having to pull people for chats and basically beg for their life and make all these promises. And it's just so uncomfortable. And I knew I was going to suck at it. So the scrambling, to be able to talk about alliances out loud and the physical challenges, I knew I was going to struggle with. And I think I did better than I thought I would do in the challenges, to be honest.
You did all right.
But, it's just not what I'm built for. I'm not built for that kind of a show. If I was going to do the challenge, I'd do the challenge. Or if I'm going to do Survivor, I'd do Survivor. It's not the show I signed up for. I wanted to do Big Brother.
I don't know why they've gone so far down that route, because from most of what you hear, people don't really like that element of it that much. Do they, Gaz? Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. But also, I kind of want to know, because obviously Tully understands what Australia thinks about this. And I sometimes feel like for us, obviously, over here, not many people are watching it. We're quite unique in that sense. And it feels like it doesn't have the same pull that it used to. It doesn't seem to really blow up on Twitter as much. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but what is it like now? Like, what's the appetite for it in Australia? What's the buzz?
It's definitely different to the first time round, for sure. I think Big Brother was one of the first and biggest reality TV shows in Australia. And now there are so many, the market is saturated, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was originally on Channel 10 in its original format. Then it had a little hiatus after the turkey slapping incident.
Oh, yeah.
When our ex-Prime Minister, John Howard, came out and said that the show was an abomination and should be cancelled. They kind of ran it to the ground. It got a little bit too smutty. They had Shock Jock Kyle and Jackie O host it for one season, which was just a joke. Took a break, and then Channel 9 brought it back. And it was this new kind of family-friendly format. It kind of went back to its roots a little bit, and it did so well. So I watched that first season and I loved it. I just loved it. It felt like the old Big Brother, and that's why I auditioned for the second season of that sort of time frame. Nailed it with our season as well. We had a fucking amazing cast, and it just did so well, to the point where they extended our season by a couple of weeks. Like I think,
how did that work out? Like, you didn't sign up for that, or I guess you did. I guess somehow
it was just doing so well. It was doing so well, and so I think the boys, I think originally we're supposed to be in there for like 90 days, but then they ended up being there for like 100 and something days. It was just doing really well. And then the third season on Channel 9, they lost the ball a little bit. I don't know whether it was the fact of they tried to replicate our cast too much. There were lots of like Drew Point 2 or Tully Point. There are a few, like, it kind of looked like they were trying to copy our cast. Right. But also here in Australia, I remember that season, the network, for some reason, it was on like 6:30 on a Monday night, 7 on a Tuesday night, 7:30 on a Wednesday night. So it was really hard.
No one can keep up with that shit. No. We've had that done over here too.
There was no rhyme or reason. They would change the show last minute. It would go, oh, tonight it's on at 8, and no one would know. So I remember speaking to the producer at the time, Alex Mavrodakis, who's just the best, and he was really frustrated because he's like, no one can follow the show because it's just changing all the time. And so it kind of bombed. And then it went away for a bit, and then they brought it back, and it was this new format.
Yeah.
And, again, as a Big Brother loyalist, there are bits and pieces that I like from both series. I think the main thing it is missing is the live the live quality. It needs to be live.
Yes.
It needs to be live. This 8-month gap between filming and airing, it doesn't work on so many different levels.
So you must just feel like you're in limbo, especially if you were in the final 3. Like, how weird not knowing that you've won for that amount of time. It's nuts.
Oh, but like also like that's a long time, you know. Like Taras in the house talks about his girlfriend, his girlfriend Zoe. He no longer has a girlfriend. Like things change. You know, I remember thinking in that house with all this hoo-ha about Daniel and, you know, me wanting my video from Daniel and blah, 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 blah. I was like, God, imagine if we're not even together when this fucking airs. Like, how embarrassing. But the live element is definitely missing. Like, and again, this is one of those things where I feel for the newbies, because when I was evicted in 2013, I came out to a crowded auditorium. I had people yelling my name. I had people holding signs with my name on it. I had Sonia on stage. I had my big exit interview. And this time around, I got shoved in the back of a car and sent to a hotel. Like, it was so anticlimactic. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Is this,
where's the fanfare?
Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah.
So I think that for sure that live element's missing. But yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. There isn't that obsessive hype around it that there used to be.
Yeah.
We're still pulling good numbers with like the online sort of catch up versus live, but
people are watching it differently these days.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a different feel this time around. Like I came out of that house the first time round and I had like 300,000 followers. This time round, I think if you look at the newbies, I think Alicia has the most, and she already started with 10K. I think she's got 20K.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Even that is just it's crazy.
Isn't that because aren't the young people not on Twitter though? We're kind of old now, and like everyone's on not Snapchat. What's the other one? TikTok.
TikTok.
Granddad.
Do you know what? This is the most I've had Twitter for forever, because I worked in advertising before I did Big Brother. This is the most active I've been on Twitter in a very long time. And my followers, like I've got like 60K again on Twitter. I'm like, how can I make money from this? People are using Twitter still. I had no idea.
But Tully, you talking about your old series, I'm just going to like fangirl over it a little bit now, because I recently rewatched it with my boyfriend Jack. He'd never seen it before. He said it was the best thing he had ever seen, even better than Breaking Bad. And it was just the casting on your old series was just perfect. Like even the people who you hated, so to speak, not hated, they were just so fun to sort of hate. Like Ed, for example, like you don't hate him, but you know he was just trying his hardest, and it was just so like the Sugar Sisters fucking drive me nuts, but they're just the perfect people to hate. And just like you, Drew, Tahan, just all the different characters was just everything about it, all the twists, the nomination booth, like just so everything about it was just perfect. The only bad thing was you went too early. That was the annoying part. But apart from that, just everything about that season just worked so fucking well. It stands up so well. It's still such a great piece of TV, even though those whole fucking 90 episodes of it. To watch it back is still such a joy.
I feel like I'm able. Obviously, I am biased, just you know, but because I was part of it. But also as a fan of the show, I agree. Like it was an amazing cast. There was something for everybody, you know, like there was a character that every single person could get behind. We often joked that season they'd really ticked every fucking minority box, right? Like we had I was bi, we had Ben who was gay, we had Jazz who was African American heritage with an afro, we had fucking Rohan who was a waste of space but he was Indian, we had Michaela who was Asian and adopted, we had two sisters, we had a firefighter, we had an army guy, we had a football player, we had, do you know what I mean? Like we just had something for everyone.
And then what does that tell you about diverse casting, right? It should just be that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was surprised. I remember coming into the house and being like, oh, we haven't got any Asians. Where? No.
Yeah.
It's gone the other way now, hasn't it? A little bit, feels like.
Well, it's a tricky subject to broach. But I feel like 2013 was really Big Brother's glory days. It really was. And I'm so proud and grateful to be a part of that series. Alex Mavrodakis really is the godfather when it comes to reality TV here in Australia. He makes amazing television. He really does. He just gets it, and he now produces Love Island Australia and I'm a Celebrity Australia. He no longer does Big Brother, which is really sad because he's amazing. But he just fucking gets it. And it's funny because I watch not so much Love Island Australia, but I'm a Celebrity, and I can see Alex through the show.
Right.
There'll be a challenge or there'll be a task, and it just reeks of Alex Mavrodakis and that Big Brother era that he was responsible for. You know, there are bits and pieces. I know you guys have said this before in your podcast, that if you're watching multiple Big Brothers, whether it's Canada, UK, they all borrow things from each other, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's the fit out of a room or a theme of a room, or it's a challenge word for word, copied and pasted. I watch I'm a Celebrity, and I can see Alex Mavrodakis's handiwork.
Yeah.
He just won a Logie, which is like our version of like a, I don't know, fucking MTV Movie Award.
Yeah.
Finally, because he was up so many years for the show and he never got one, but he just won a Logie. And I'm now begging him to put me on I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. That's my next goal.
How would you cope on that show?
It'd be awful, which would be hilarious, right? I would complain all the time. I'm scared of snakes, but it raises money for charity. So I could raise money for Dementia Australia, which is something that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just feels like the next step for me. It just feels like the next, but I also know that Tim's been approached before to do it. So again, once again, it's Tim versus Tully. Like, who gets to do first?
And Tully, have you ever watched any of the other international Big Brothers? Did you watch, not even when Tim was on Big Brother Canada?
No, do you know what? He did it so close to our season that I needed a break from him. I wasn't keen. Tahan watched it online, but I just needed a break from the Tim show for a bit. I kept abreast of it, and I loved that he was doing so well, and I supported him in that, obviously. But I couldn't handle, maybe it was my bruised ego, I don't know, but I couldn't handle watching more of the Tim show, to be honest. But I have watched bits and pieces of Big Brother UK over the years, different clips here and there, and I used to watch bits on YouTube, and I remember seeing them smoking in the backyard and being like, what the fuck? They're just there, just like sucking on darts. I was like, this is wild. This is so wild. So much about this format is this format's so different. Like, we had a day off.
Oh, did you?
Wild to me. I was like, what do you mean?
The purists will be going mad.
I mean, come on. Are you saying that's because like production weren't around? I think you mentioned this. There was like a skeleton crew
on Sundays.
Right? Yeah.
All the camera crew in the, there weren't even glass windows this time around. The camera crew in the
sheet with some guy behind it, right? So weird. You're trying to have a conversation and you see a burly arm and a camera pop up behind the person you're talking to try and not act as if they're there and trying to stay normal. Like, it's
ruins the magic a bit.
How hard is it to fit mirrors in those gaps? You know, they should just put a mirror there.
We had no fucking mirrors. Tim and I were walking around trying to find a mirror because they're so used to having mirrors everywhere. I'm like, where are the fucking mirrors in this place? No, but Sundays, this is probably a production secret or whatever. I've broken that many rules by this point. Sundays were our day off. So the camera crew weren't there. So we were still being recorded and filmed with the cameras that were in the house. So on the roofs, on the whatever. But there was no, movable camera crew. We weren't allowed to talk about strategy at all or the game. So it was actually a really nice day. It's probably the most like normal Big Brother day that we had, because people were more open to talking about their lives and, their hopes, their dreams, funny sex stories, their worst dates ever. That's when we had the best conversations, because we weren't able to strategize and have little secret meetings and, block people out. We were way more cohesive as a house, as a family. They were my favorite days. I had some amazing chats with Tim, some really vulnerable, just the bravado was down. It was Tim and Tully just talking about life and shit that we've gone through together. And it was sad, even during the chats, thinking this is never going to make it to air. And this is the stuff that people want to see.
So has none of that footage made it to even the website at all?
It wouldn't be allowed if it was on the day off.
The fashion show, that was on a day off, but we knew as well, it was too good that they would put it somewhere. if not in the main show, we knew that then it was too good. We were too great that day. Like that was amazing. That was a fucking funny day. But yeah, it's the days off were bizarre. And then we got to watch a movie.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
what?
Like, yeah, that's like unheard of.
Wild, like outside interference, like outside entertainment. Like, what the fuck is going on? And so once we knew that, every Sunday we would just yell out throughout the day. We'd all be fighting over which movies we wanted to watch because Big Brother would choose for us. But if enough of us,
you're telling me you had to get to watch a movie every Sunday?
Every Sunday on a day off, we got to watch movies.
That's crazy.
That's a cushy life in the BB house.
Yeah.
But also, like, what do you mean? What do you mean we have a day off? Like,
yeah.
Imagine, I don't know. Again, it just felt wrong to me as a, you know, old
but I guess
school.
once you got your head around it, it was probably welcome, right? To take the pressure of constantly being in a game.
It was nice. It was nice because the newbies in particular, you could actually have conversation with them where they weren't like, but who are you putting up? But who are you coming for?
Yeah.
Where do you stand? You know, you could actually be like, so, you know, tell me about your mum. Like, you know, are you guys still close? Do you get along? They let their walls down for a bit, which was not common for them. So that was really nice. But some of the best chats happened on Sunday. And
for you, that Sunday was like, let's do Big Brother. But that's the bit we'll never see.
That was the nicest. Like, we had Taras's birthday. I haven't shown that either. Taras turned 34 and we got a cake and someone gave, who was it? Brenton gave him a strip tease, like put him on a chair, like Magic Mike style. And we gave him like a strip tease. Like that's the stuff that I love the most. And the moments that I love the most, I knew were the moments that the public would want to see.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like we had singing dance parties in the showers. Me and the girls would sing really loudly in the showers, like have a rock concert. Like we can't sing, obviously, because they don't own the rights to the songs.
Hold on, we know you can sing because we know you can sing. I got my boy. You got your girl.
I love that you guys.
And we can
I can't believe.
And shake it around.
Got my girl.
So we know that's a lie because we know that Hot Pants was it.
We just sang Hot Pants with Tully. We've made it.
You know what? When I'm ever feeling down, I'll pop those two clips on YouTube, and that makes me so nostalgic. Like that was so much fucking fun. So much fun.
That was such a good task. I even like the boys' song. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but
I thought the boys did better than us. I can't believe we won. The boys were great.
No, the girls were a lot better, but
really?
The boys had their moment.
100%.
Oh, the girls are really
the girl bands are always
bring
better
those challenges back. Fuck us running to room.
I know.
We're done with that. We're done with that.
The same siren too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So Tully, I've had an outside question because you did a tweet, and our friend Alfie, who has watched.
Alfie.
Yeah, you know Alfie. He's always in everyone's business. He says, because he's watched all the old BB Australias. Was there anyone from the old series, like any old series, that you were hoping to see when you went in the house?
Yes, there were plenty. So obviously having a few from my season would have been just comfy, you know. Jazz and I, if you remember Jazz.
I do. I remember her, yeah.
So I often joke, Jazz and I were really close. Our first ever challenge in 2013 was like a getting to know you best friends thing. And we had to try and find our bestie in the house. And she ended up being mine. And we were so tight. And I really loved her. And she left way too soon. Yes. And I often joked, I often blame her. I'm like, you know what? If you didn't leave, then nothing would ever happen with you and I. Like, you're the reason it happened. I lost my friend. Jazz would have been great. Tahan is obviously a fucking fantastic player, very entertaining. Yeah. Tahan's great. Boogs as well. So Boogs was an intruder that I actually never got to play with because I left and she came.
Oh, yeah.
But she's fucking amazing, and we've been so close, you know, post show, and she would just be so much fun to have in there. But also on a personal level, a lot of the Big Brother housemates from the season before me, really lovely, and in a way that I kind of try to do the same now with the fellow housemates below me. They were very maternal and paternal and looked after me. Michael Beveridge is he's amazing. He was so funny and great and could have won it had he not fucked it up by hooking up with Estelle. Josh Moore was an amazing housemate that left way too soon because his brother passed away and he had to leave the house. And I always felt like He deserved a second chance. Stacey Wren from the season before me, she was incredible, so funny. We are also very close, and she is just so much fun. And then touching on the last 3 seasons, you know, during my chats with the housemates from last season on Too Much Tully, I really love Sid. I feel like we didn't get to see enough of Sid.
Yeah, he was interesting.
He's brilliant. Yeah. He's really brilliant. And we just didn't get to see that of him. He was pulling all kinds of sneaky moves. I feel like he's kind of like a Taras player. Like he was a dark horse.
Yeah, yes.
And we just didn't get to see that because he wasn't involved in the drama. So when you're not involved in the drama, and this is coming from someone who's involved in the drama always, you don't get a lot of airtime. You know, look at JC, the poor doll.
Yeah. God, poor thing. Beautiful though.
Beautiful kid. Actually really lovely and funny, and actually made some big moves. And we just, he said 4 words.
Yeah.
His whole time in the house, he said 4 words. Sid, I really loved during our chat. Tilly obviously is a great housemate.
Yeah.
Marley, I'm obsessed with. I just think that boy is just heaven on a stick.
What do you think of Danny Hayes?
Have you listened to my interview with Danny Hayes?
Oh yeah, I did. That didn't go well, did it?
Wasn't he on the defensive with you?
He was very, very.
He rocked up with a list of questions to ask me. He said,
"Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was interesting."
He had skimmed, not properly listened to my podcast. He'd skimmed, and he had a list of issues with me and questions, and he flipped it back on me, and I was feeling he was trying to make me feel small, and it's fine. I wasn't bothered by it, but people listening to it said he was trying to like manhandle you and put you in your place.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Okay. Glossing over.
I think Danny is the great player. Again, you know,
he's
credit where credit is due. He played an amazing game. I think he's very entertaining. I think he did himself a disservice going back on VIP.
Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah. It was stacked against him though, really. He didn't have a chance. And Big Brother helped him out a lot first time around, and I don't think they helped him second time around.
I mean, he was a last minute call up to replace Katie Hopkins. Who
I forgot about that drama. Yeah, we all hate Katie Hopkins.
Fucking hate her.
Yeah,
I was actually really upset with the franchise for even considering.
It's dangerous casting. You shouldn't be casting people who are that dangerous.
Yeah. She's evil.
Why are we giving her a fucking platform? Why are we giving her a voice? Why are we bringing her to this country? Fuck off. You guys keep her. We don't want her here.
We don't want her. You can have
her. Take her, please. We've had to watch her in Big Brother before. She's done a celebrity Big Brother.
I thought the Thomas Markle casting was a bit annoying as well.
I mean, he was okay. Didn't he have a heart attack or something?
That's his dad. But he was just, it's just one of those bits of casting that just feels a bit dirty. It feels a bit wrong.
I'm friends with Josh and he's a good kid and I loved watching him succeed. And I obviously love Luke from Survivor.
He was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a sweetheart. I'm glad he fucking finally won. Jesus Christ. If he'd
I struggled to remember who Josh was there for a second, but I remember now he's a social media guy. Yeah,
the pretty hot boy. Yeah, he's a cutie. I feel like, you know, and that's a risk when you come back and you do it for a second time. You can ruin your reputation so I just feel like Danny shouldn't have done.
No, it's a shame. I would love to see Danny and Tim go head to head and just see how that goes.
For sure, I agree as a fan, but put me nowhere in. I'm not playing that type round. Like I cannot handle.
Can you imagine? God, they'd both be after you. They'd both be after you.
Oh my God, I can't handle that. You know what sucks though? Thinking about like the old versus new versions. I could never have imagined ever in a million years, because it was so bad the first time around. I could never have imagined the support that I got this time around. It blew me away. I was completely floored by everybody's love and also acknowledgement of the work that I've done and how much I have grown and changed. It was so validating and so surprising. I still got trolled, obviously, but just overall, it was just so supportive and lovely. It made me think that, in fact, there was a Twitter follower that said it to me. They're like, if it was the public voting, Tully, you actually fucking had a chance this time around. I was like,
that's so true.
Oh my God. If it was the public voting and I was up against Drew and Johnson, they would have sent Drew home. Like I could have lasted quite a while.
100%.
That blows my mind.
I wish it had been.
Yeah, same here.
So what we're going to do?
Those days are gone.
We're on a countdown now. So what we're going to do? Do you need to go?
Tully, go, no?
If you guys have more questions,
well,
I'm talking way too much. You guys should stick to your questions.
No, you're good. I think I've pretty much covered mine. I'm happy to carry on talking. What about you guys?
The problem is we would talk all day given the chance. But we need to probably do a wrap
the chat
up.
would be way more interesting off air.
Oh yeah, let's wrap up and chat.
And how much wine have you had now, Tully? Get it? Okay. I know you're doing all right. You're doing all right.
What's that? That's like less
sensible.
Just less than half a bottle.
That's a couple of glasses. Yeah, that's fine.
It's like, I mean,
okay, here's the
couple of glasses amongst friends.
Here's the boring question that you probably answered a million times before. Would you play Big Brother again?
Absolutely.
I knew
I would go back a million times. Like, it's funny because neither time was easy. Like, I haven't been given a fucking easy ride either time. I've copped it, and I've copped it on the chin. I've been a good sport both times, but it hasn't been easy. But I just love this game. I love it so much. I live and breathe it. I really feel strongly about the franchise. I hope it sticks around. I really do, because I think it does have legs. I think there is still so much love for Big Brother. I've finally come out from behind the shadows in there's, I don't know if you guys know, but the Behind the Big Brother forums.
Oh, I heard you talking about it on your podcast.
I've been a watcher of this forum since I was a kid. And I, for the first time, have come out from behind, because it used to be so negative about me. Like I'd watch, I was a fan, I was a member, well, a watcher as a fan of the show. And then I went on the show, and then I would watch it, and it would be very bad about me. And so I just thought, I'm just going to stay hidden in the shadows. Yeah, but when the tide started changing this time around, I was like, I felt a bit more confident to sort of be like, hello, I'm here.
And I bet everyone loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, I was. It's hard because you don't want to come out and make people feel like they have to like kiss your ass, or like I want people to be honest still. Like if you fucking hate me, you can still hate me. Like I can handle it. But the love that has been this time round has been such a welcome surprise, and it's been so worth it. And there is still so much love for the show. There really is, and so much love for the OGs, and so much love for me. And these people that still watch and that still follow me and still, follow what I'm up to, they're the reason I have my job. They're the reason I have the podcast. I'm so grateful and appreciative, because they're the reason I'm still here. I reply to every single DM that I get, and it's a full-time job, literally. Like it takes a lot of time from my day, but I'm like, this person has taken a minute, a second out of their day to message me. Why wouldn't I do the same back? Like they're the reason I get to do what I do every day and love it. So I would go back and do Big Brother again and again and again and again. I would love to come and do an international version.
Yeah.
There was like a quick chat about me doing South Africa Big Brother, like back in 2013. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then nothing came from it. I'd love to do Brother Canada like Tim did. I'd love to do Brother UK. I'd love to do even just like US. I'd do any Big Brother, really. I love the show.
We can put a word in for you, Big Brother Canada, because we know the host. So
Tim would hate that. Tim would fucking hate that, but I would love to do it.
Oh yeah, we know the producer.
She's the producer now, so she's not just the host. So,
Oh yeah, I forgot she's the executive producer now as well.
We'll make it known.
And you would be such a good character. Like, yeah, that would be really, really good.
I would love to do that, as long as, you know what? I really do live and breathe the show. I really do. I have the DVD. We had scratchies here at one point with people's faces on them, housemates' faces on them. Like, I really love the show. And it's been such an honor to be asked to come back for the 21st anniversary of it. Like, that's just, if you could tell little Tully, who used to watch it live on the, on the live streams late at night, that she was not only a housemate but was considered royalty.
Yeah,
that's just such an achievement.
Not everyone becomes a Big Brother legend, and you've definitely achieved it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thanks. I try. I might have fucked up my life the first time round, but I think I've redeemed myself this time round.
Yeah, 100%. What should we do? Should we wrap up and then should we come back?
Yeah.
For the debrief? Or are you done, Tully?
I'm happy to, but do you need to?
No, I'm happy to.
You want to have a little 10-minute, just little
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Okay.
Do you want to wrap it up officially? Was that wrapped up?
Yeah. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up officially.
Okay. Tully, thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tully. We really appreciate that you've taken the time to speak to us on, your evening when you've got a lot going on ahead of the final.
Thanks for listening to our podcast as well. We really appreciate it, especially when we put such a hideous photo of you one week.
Yeah, that was not cool, guys. Come on. That was straight from you, like Pornhub or like RedTube. That was an awful shot of me.
That was really bad.
No, thanks for watching and thanks for loving, the franchise as much as I do. Like, that's what I get from this podcast the most. Like, you guys know your shit. You've watched not just my season, but so many other seasons, and you recollect things so easily. And I guess it's nice to talk to other people that love it as much as I do. So it's been an absolute delight, and you guys are the best. And
thanks.
I'd do this every night. Honestly, I'm happy to do it every night.
We are both avid listeners of Too Much Tully, and we have recommended it to so many people. We both listened to it for years.
Actually, one of my friends who I was talking to earlier just said, tell Tully she's a legend. She gives such good life advice.
Yeah.
Like all of your stuff about love and like personal lives. I sent that shit to some of my friends, and this one friend in particular is like so thankful for that content that you're putting out there.
Oh, don't. That honestly means the world to me. Thank
honestly,
you.
it's so interesting to see like just the different subjects you do. And I wasn't originally a Tully fan, but I listened to it because I was like, what's going on? And I, was won over. So yeah.
You know what? One fan at a time. I'll win them all over eventually.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Tully.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Bye. Wow. What do you think?
What do you think of that, juicy gossip, listeners?
Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I just wanted to, we obviously tweeted about this a while ago. Typical BBAU style, we've dropped it about a month after we put the promo out. I just wanted to thank everyone who was excited and commented, including Jayhawk, Dean Barney, Axe, Braden, you said, although I don't see him here. And
Braden would have been excited about it, let's be honest.
And Richie IRL, who said, I've never been more excited for a podcast. Love BB on Blast. They are so good.
I love Richie.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, very nice.
We're going to be back soon with our reactions to the finale and the outfits in particular.
Oh, God.
And we also want you to let us know if there's any other housemates that you'd like us to talk to, because apparently they're within our reach. So get in our DMs. There's
one on our wish list in particular.
Yeah, we're working on something, but don't hold your breath, listeners.
You never know. We could have the exclusive with Mel on the way.
I thought we were trying to talk to Sal from last week.
So before we forget, follow me on Twitter, Light at VM.
Follow me on Twitter, BB_superfan.
Follow Tully on Twitter as if you're not already.
T_Smythe.
EEE.
_SMYTH.
Spell out this shit.
Follow BB on Blast everywhere too, and subscribe for more content.
Yeah, so you don't miss out on all these juicy exclusive once every 3 years. No, hold on. Wasn't that like 5 years ago?
At least 4.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll see
watching
you
or listening.
Well, whatever the hell it is, and watching and listening. And we shall see you for some BB24 coverage coming up soon. Neither of us have seen very much so far, so.
No. We'll be back soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net carb hero bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first hero bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.